Zombie dragons? What the hell's going on in Game of Thrones Season 7? Don't worry, this recap's got you covered. Daenerys' fleet arrives in Westeros and she assumes control of the Targaryen ancestral seat of Dragonstone. In King's Landing, Cersei and Jaime are preparing for war, and the pair are visited by Euron Greyjoy, who offers Cersei a gift to try and win her hand in marriage.
I won't return to King's Landing until I have that for you.
Arya Stark continues her journey of revenge by poisoning the entirety of House Frey as justice for their part in the Red Wedding, and she meets a bunch of Lannister soldiers, one of whom is played by famous ginger Ed Sheeran, who offer her dinner and a fire to warm her hands on. Meanwhile in Winterfell, Jon and Sansa are preparing for war, and the pair disagree on the right strategies and ways to rule the North. Finally, the Hound and the Brotherhood Without Banners discover a farmhouse and take shelter from the cold, where the Hound sees a vision in the flames about the White Walker invasion at Eastwatch, the Night's Watch castle right by the sea, and at the far end of the Wall.
Do you believe me now, Clegane? Do you believe we're here for a reason?
In Winterfell, Jon and Sansa continue to disagree on how best to prepare for the coming war with the White Walkers.
You're not suggesting Jon meet with her?
No, too dangerous. But if the army of the dead makes it past the wall, do we have enough men to fight them?
And Littlefinger gets into a fight with Jon.
Touch my sister, and I'll kill you myself.
Arya learns, from returning character Hot Pie,
You've been making pies.
One or two.
that Sansa is alive and is Lady of Winterfell. So instead of heading south to try and kill Cersei, she travels north. Along the way, she's reunited with her old direwolf, Nymeria. Sam continues to serve at the Citadel and starts to treat Jorah Mormont for his greyscale after being forbidden to do so by the Archmaester. In King's Landing, Randall Tarley joins forces with the Lannisters.
If my queen summons me, I answer the call.
At sea, Euron Greyjoy attacks Daenerys' fleet, capturing Ellaria Sand and her daughter Taini, and Yara Greyjoy, while Theon saves himself by jumping overboard. Euron also kills a pair of sand snakes and sinks the rest of the Greyjoy fleet. Fresh from his naval victory, Euron brings Ellaria Sand and her daughter Taini to King's Landing as a wedding gift for Cersei. She agrees to marry him when the war is over.
If you have any advice at all, I would love to hear it.
Advice?
Does she like it gentle or rough? A finger in the bum.
Cersei locks her prisoners in a cell under the Red Keep and poisons Taini, forcing Ellaria to watch her daughter's slow death. Meanwhile, Daenerys,
protector of the Seven Kingdoms, the mother of dragons, the Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, the Unburnt, the breaker of chains,
meets Jon Snow.
This is Jon Snow.
For the first time ever, when the Northern Bastard travels to Dragonstone. He refuses to bend the knee to her, but asks to mine Dragonstone's cave for dragonglass, which will be used to kill the White Walkers. Dany sends the Unsullied to take Casterly Rock, the Lannister family home, which they do. However, the bulk of the Lannister army is busy capturing Highgarden and claiming all the family's gold to pay back a debt to the Iron Bank. Jaime gives Lady Olenna poisoned wine, which she drinks willingly, and confesses to him that she was the one who plotted to kill his son Joffrey at the Purple Wedding.
Tell Cersei. I wanted to know it was me.
Bran is reunited with Sansa, but seems very distant from his sister. Jorah, meanwhile, is cured of his greyscale.
I just started feeling better.
Arya arrives in Winterfell and has an emotional reunion with Sansa,
Do I have to call you Lady Stark now?
and a less emotional one with Bran.
You came home.
She trains with Brienne and shows impressive sword skills, using a Valyrian steel dagger, gifted to Bran, then given to her as a secondary blade.
I don't want it.
At Dragonstone, Daenerys and Jon are becoming more friendly, and Jon shows her ancient cave paintings in the Dragonglass mine that depict the first men fighting together against the White Walkers. Theon arrives on Dragonstone and is reunited, unhappily, with Jon.
What you did for her is the only reason I'm not killing you.
At the end of the episode, Daenerys leads her Dothraki army, while flying Drogon, against the Lannisters. She destroys the majority of their forces, and when Jaime charges her with a spear at the end, he narrowly escapes death by dragonfire as Bronn tackles him into a nearby river. It's epic. Turns out Jaime and Bronn are still alive after the Battle of the Loot Train. And they return to King's Landing, where Cersei tells her brother/lover that she's expecting a fourth child. Meanwhile, Daenerys has Drogon burn Randall and Dickon Tarly alive. after they refuse to bend the knee to her. When she returns to Dragonstone, she is reunited with Jorah, and it seems her attachment to Jon is growing too.
Wasn't the word I was thinking of, but...
Tyrion sails to King's Landing with Sir Davos for a secret meeting with Jaime, where the little brother tries to convince the Kingslayer to help him fight the White Walkers, instead of battling for the Iron Throne.
You want Cersei to bend the knee, you can ask her yourself.
I don't. Daenerys doesn't. Not right now, anyway.
Meanwhile, Davos goes to fetch Gendry, the bastard son of Robert Baratheon, and they all head back to Dragonstone together. Following that, Jon, Gendry, Davos, and Jorah travel to Eastwatch, where they team up with the Hound, Beric Dondarrion, Thoros of Myr, and Tormund to form a ranging party. Their objective? Capture a White Walker in order to convince Jaime and Cersei to help them fight the Night King's army in the north. In Winterfell, Littlefinger plants a note for Arya to find, in an attempt to drive a wedge between the sisters. Finally, Gilly discovers that Jon Snow's real parents were secretly married.
What does annulment mean?
It's when a man sets aside his lawful wife.
Making Jon a legitimate Targaryen, and she leaves the Citadel with Sam after the rest of the Maesters refuse to help spread the word about the White Walker threat in the north. Jon Snow leads his hunting party north of the Wall to try and recover a white. After an encounter with an undead bear, where Thoros of Myr is mortally wounded, the group find a small bunch of undead, kill the White Walker leading them, and capture a white. They are then chased into the middle of a frozen lake by the rest of the Night King's army. Gendry runs for help, he reaches the wall, Sir Davos sends a raven to Daenerys, and she rides to rescue the group with all 3 of her dragons. She rescues them all, apart from Jon, who falls into the frozen lake. Meanwhile, Viserion, her smallest dragon, is killed by the Night King. Jon escapes the ice and is given a horse by Benjen Stark, who buys time for him to flee, by dying. At the end of the episode, the Night King drags Viserion out of the lake and reanimates him as a zombie dragon. Daenerys tends to Jon's wounds, and the pair admit that they have feelings for each other.
Not Danny. How about my queen?
Meanwhile, Arya confronts Sansa about her note, and the pair trade threats, much to Littlefinger's delight. Sansa sends Brienne to King's Landing to represent her in a meeting between the rulers of the 7 kingdoms. Come on, keep up. All the main players meet at the Dragon Pit just outside King's Landing. Brienne and the Hound make up.
I was only trying to protect her.
You and me both.
Bronn, Tyrion and Podrick are reunited, and Euron storms off before negotiations really begin.
I'm going back to my island.
They show Cersei the white captured in the previous episode, but Cersei refuses to withdraw her armies unless Jon agrees not to fight her once the Night King is dead. He, in turn, refuses.
Have you ever considered learning how to lie every now and then? Just a bit?
Tyrion then tries to convince Cersei, and she appears to agree, recalls Jon and Dany, and accepts their truce. She offers to send Jaime north with their armies, but reveals later that she's actually lying. I mean, who knew? Jaime decides to go anyway, and there's a tense scene where Cersei almost has him killed for it. At Dragonstone, Theon has a heart-to-heart with Jon, and goes to rescue his sister Yara, after another man tries to knee him in the balls. In Winterfell, Sansa lures Littlefinger into a hasty court in the Great Hall, and Arya executes him for all his scheming and the deaths that he was responsible for. Sam arrives in Winterfell and speaks to Bran. The pair of them conclude that Jon Snow is actually a Targaryen proper, and his mother Lyanna Stark and father Rhaegar Targaryen were married when he was born. Jon's actual name is Aegon Targaryen, by the way. We discover this while Jon and Dany have sex on board one of their boats, as Tyrion looks on with a very worried expression on his face. Finally, the Night King shows up at Eastwatch and uses zombie Viserion the dragon to punch a massive gap in the wall, allowing his armies to march through, therefore concluding Season 7.